Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. It's Monday. We are back reviewing the game week just gone, and as always, looking ahead to the blanks and the double game weeks to come. I am joined by a very special guest this afternoon, my good friend, Mr. Manchester himself, Ian Irvin. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks, pal. A lot better than you, I imagine.
Yeah, it's not been a great 24 hours. I went into last night's game knowing I didn't own Haaland and that he was starting, and then, of course,
not too bad that one.
The Foden benching.
Ouch.
Yeah. Bench points were a common theme. It sounds like across the board. Not that many. No, a few had Garnacho bench points though, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. When we look at your team, Johnny, I'd love to get your thought process on what you did and why, because I think it will be very revealing for watchers of this to try and understand a little bit more about why you decided to play two Liverpool attackers away at Arsenal against an Arsenal defender and put Phil Foden on the bench. I'm fascinated myself to hear about that.
I am too, and I don't know if I can give you an accurate answer because it was just chaos in my mind ahead of the deadline. All week, I had Foden set in my 11, didn't even think about benching Foden.
Yeah.
And then I was actually considering selling Darwin, right? And then we got the double game week announcement on the Saturday morning. And it was like, okay, that's enough to hold Darwin, because I was thinking of Darwin to Haaland. Like many. Right, okay, I keep Darwin now. He's flagged. Okay. Klopp says he can't get his boot on, touch and go. But then Liverpool released training photos and he's pictured with his boots on training. And I'm like, okay, Darwin's going to be good to start. He's been great of late. He owes me big time. And I think that's what it was. Like, that should never get in the way of your thinking, but it does. Like the fact that I felt owed by Darwin, so I'm going to chuck him in. I thought he'll either start, play 90, or won't feature at all. Ironically, the thing I didn't think would happen would be a cameo off the bench. And that's what he got.
At least he got you a point off the bench, though, didn't he?
No. He picked up the yellow card. No. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Didn't know that one. So
it
was about... And then, mate, so the plan was Foden in the 11. Darwin was in the 11 too. I was benching Pascal Gross, who got 11 points. I actually sold Gross, bought in Jota.
It gets worse.
It gets worse. I sold Gross for Jota because I saw the double Liverpool game week announcement. And then I decided that a Jota-Darwin combination could be an amazing differential against Arsenal. And I fancied Liverpool to win the game. So then it left me with, if I'm not benching Gross now and I can't bench Jota and I can't bench Darwin, I'm going to have to bench Foden because I'm not guaranteed he starts the game. And with Kyle Walker possibly not playing, he's weaker because he's wider. But obviously that all went out the window. Foden was central. He was amazing. He's been City's best player in the last 2 months. You guys in the chat will all know I adore the guy. I've been banging the Foden drum for 2 months when you lot have all been telling me don't pick him, he's a rotation risk. Now he's become a bit more mainstream. I owned him at 5%. He's now 35% owned. And he's banging in hat-tricks on my bench. So serves me right. Poor decision-making from me. And it hurt, mate. It hurt.
I just couldn't start anywhere else, mate. I'm sure we'll talk about other aspects of the game week, but considering that had just happened last night, you won't be alone in missing out on the City points. I don't think a lot of players would have had City players on their benches. I mean, the other factor was Brentford had not been very good either, so you sort of expected City to go there and put on a strong performance. I mean, before we just jumped on here, we were talking about Mark Flecken's statistics as well, who I think up until that game last night, he'd been pretty weak. In fact, I think he'd been one of the worst keepers in the league when it came to expected goals prevented. But my goodness, in that first half, I mean, in some ways, you're lucky that it was only a Foden hat-trick that you missed out on, to be honest, because he made 12 saves in the first half alone. The highest ever on record. Incredible.
Mate, I was in London all day yesterday and had the decision of stay out in London for a drink or two and dinner and get a late train home and miss the football, or leave at a reasonable hour and get home in time for the football. Because I didn't own Haaland and I had Foden benched and I saw the leak that Haaland was starting, I was like, just stay out. And then and then I'm on the train and the game's on during the train. I'm like, just turn BBC live text off. Like, don't even track the game. So the train's pulling into the station. I see that City are winning 1-0 and Foden's got the goal. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. 58 minutes are gone. I'm okay. Haaland's still blanking. He's going to come off soon anyway. Foden's got one return. I jump in the car, TalkSport's on. As soon as I shut the car door, Foden scores a goal. 2 minutes later, I've only got a 10-minute drive, so I had to listen to radio commentary for only 10 minutes. And in that time, a Foden brace and a Haaland assist. I nearly crashed the car, mate.
I can imagine. I think we've all been there at some point or another, haven't we? It just makes you feel sick, doesn't it, to be honest? It just, I mean, to be fair, last week I jumped on Haaland too early. So I've had him now for 2 game weeks as captain as well. And that whole match against Burnley, I took Alvarez out.
Yes.
Haaland, which obviously went on to get those 2 goals. And I was working at Liverpool that night, pitchside reporting. So I opened my phone in the tunnel at Liverpool, or maybe even the match had started at this point. I can't remember the exact timings because they were split kickoffs, weren't they? But yeah, he'd scored 2 and it was like 20 minutes gone. And I was like, oh my goodness, this has gone really badly. So I know the feeling, mate. But that was last week. We only wanted to weeks.
Yeah. That's the beauty of a Monday morning and the Sunday game or the Tuesday morning. Like you look at FPL for a new game week and straight away you wipe the slate clean. So off the back of having probably my worst red arrow ever, I'm looking at it still going, I really like looking at my team. And now I've got an excuse to get some big green arrows. So yeah, hopefully. I'm quietly confident. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, okay.
We'll see my team. We'll see your team. We'll see Dean's team. Dean's feeling a bit unwell today, guys. But we'll show all our teams in the show. We'll also talk about the blanks and the doubles. And guys, do hit that like button and subscribe. I can see loads of our regulars are in. CH and FPL Freddie. Shout out FPL Chai, who I think Chai is maybe down to world number 15 to 20 now. But Chai's one of our regulars, Ian, and he was top 10 for a while.
That's still pretty good, to be fair to him. My goodness, we dream of stuff like that, don't we? But he didn't bench Foden, did he?
I don't think he did. No, he bought in Haaland for this game week for the first time this season, though. How amazing is that? He's been in the top 10. He's not even known Haaland all season.
Yeah, 19th he says now. Just having a look at him in the chat there.
Yeah, okay.
That's really good.
He captained Bruno, mate. So Chai has been going for out there picks this season. Captain Bruno this game. He got an assist, but
There's a message from Derek here as well. I got you beat, Ian. I captained Trent Alexander-Arnold last week. So when Bradley hauled, I couldn't help but laugh. I mean, very, very sad news about Conor Bradley's dad, isn't it? And which meant obviously he missed that Arsenal game, which meant that it wasn't really much of a question about Alexander-Arnold or Bradley starting that match. But I worked that game, like I said a moment ago, the Liverpool match against Chelsea. He was absolutely fantastic. So it's definitely a situation to keep an eye on that moving forward, isn't it? About who starts.
4.1 million. I was thinking, is there going to be a world in which both have to play one way or another? And the Liverpool midfield, certainly against Arsenal, looked really short. With Szoboszlai now out for 6 weeks, there was Gravenberch, McAllister, Jones. That trio didn't really work, and I did wonder if Trent's in one of the 3 and Bradley at right back. I don't know. It'll be an interesting one to watch.
He's not done that yet, has he? But it's been talked about a lot. And obviously stepping into midfield, Trent's done for the majority of this season. He was a bit wider actually against Arsenal than he'd been. But obviously the sort of right trio of Liverpool's side for much of this season has been Trent Alexander-Arnold, Dominic Szoboszlai and Mo Salah. And obviously 2 of the 3 weren't available. And I don't think Trent's fully fit either. It seems like he's still building up his fitness too. So, yeah, it's an area of the team that Klopp needs to look at, especially with Salah. We don't know how long he's going to be missing for, but certainly feels like it'll be another week at least. And then if Szoboszlai is as serious as you just said, that obviously that definitely needs to be looked at for Klopp because the margin for error has gone a little bit as well. It's one of the notes I've got here. They've got a lot of matches coming up over the next sort of 5 or 6 weeks with the Europa League starting again, with that match against Luton being slotted in as well. So, there will be rotation in Liverpool's side. But in some ways in FPL, that result against Arsenal does do us a little bit of a favour because it just removes that little bit of a margin for error for Liverpool. So, Klopp can't take too many risks. Yeah,
I'm with you there. That Liverpool game you're at where Bradley hauled, you witnessed Darwin hitting the woodwork 4 times. What just for those that don't get to watch Liverpool much, give us your 2 pence worth on Darwin as an FPL asset, because you see him as Darwin, the chaotic footballer firsthand, right? And he gets the opportunity, but you also see how Klopp reacts to him missing chances because you're sat right behind Jurgen Klopp, right? what's your take there? Because I was surprised to see him drop for the Arsenal game, and I know he was flagged, but
It was
the
that,
fact
wasn't it? Yeah.
he had a cameo. Was he not fully fit, or was he only fit enough for 30? Like, we should be confident, I think, about him starting the Burnley game and then the double game week coming up for Darwin. Like, he's a legit captaincy option despite his underwhelming points.
Yeah, you mean for this game week rather than the double game week captaincy option? Yeah, I think he is. I think the thing with Darwin, it's funny actually. I worked a game at Anfield last season. It was against West Ham. It would have been probably about November time, and Darwin Nunez had a bit of a stop-start opening to his Liverpool career with the red card that he had and some of the injuries and different issues. Yeah. And he, in the first half against West Ham, I think he scored, hit the bar, shot from about 30 yards out, which Fabianski just tipped over. And I'm sat there thinking, I need to own this guy. He looks absolutely brilliant. You know, he's at everything. It was the pace and ferocity of the shots and the intensity of his play and everything. I was like, right, got to get him. And it just never quite worked out. And then pretty much until the last couple of weeks, really, it was the same. You know, the stats were amazing. You watch him, he's involved. I mean, the one thing for me, forget Jurgen Klopp's reaction to Darwin Nunez. It was the Anfield crowd's reaction that really stood out to me in that Chelsea game, because it had been so easy for any crowd anywhere to get on a player's back when he'd missed the chances that he'd missed in that game, including a penalty, hitting the woodwork 4 times. But when he put in the ball for Diaz to score the 4th, it wasn't Diaz's name ringing around Anfield, booming out from the Kop. It was Darwin Nunez's. They absolutely love him, and it's part of the industry and it's part of the chaos. He's there, chaotic centre forward, you know. And I think Klopp replicates that. He appreciates the work rate. He appreciates the intensity of his play. And it's still the same thing. If he can just provide that last little detail to his game, you know, he's going to be a must-own for us. I've enjoyed watching other people own him this season, no question at all. Even being at the games, watching him with other people owning him has probably given me more enjoyment than I've been sort of gutted to miss out on some of the points. But with the double game week coming, with the fixture against Burnley this week, I think you're right. And I could well become a Darwin Nunez owner this week. So strap yourselves in.
Took the words out of my mouth. Strap yourself in, yeah. When he stood up to take that penalty, I noticed Klopp faced you guys. He faced the sand. He doesn't usually. Does he do that? He does do that. Okay. I thought, was it just because Darwin's taking it?
No, that was us doing that as Darwin owners, wasn't it? No, he has done that previously. I mean, he did that the previous match. I think Mohamed Salah, did he miss one and score one against Newcastle? Just trying to remember exactly how that game went. And I was at Anfield for that, and he did exactly the same thing then. So I don't think it was just because it was Darwin. However, I was surprised that it wasn't Alexis McAllister that took it because of his record from Brighton, but also because he was the one who sort of grabbed the ball. But a lot of teams do that now, don't they, where one player seems to take all the flack, and then as soon as the moment comes to take it, they hand the ball over. So if they get another penalty, it'd be interesting to see who takes it, won't it?
I feel like Darwin needs to be on like a brace to then get given the ball to get his hat-trick to get another penalty. I just don't know if you trust him in a tight game at 0-0 again without him being on the score sheet.
Very hard to know until we see it. Yeah, I mean, we can sometimes predict penalty takers, or we can have some sort of insight for penalty takers, but on this particular one, I'm really not sure. I could well see Darwin Nunez taking another penalty, considering, like I'm talking about, the love that he gets from the Liverpool faithful and the team and the manager. Equally, I can see it being given to someone else because he's missed that one against Chelsea. So we'll just have to wait and see and cross our fingers that whoever we own takes the penalty.
Yeah. Or even, I think if I own Darwin, I'm actually happy him not taking the pen because it's the threat of minus points. I think Ollie Watkins is the only other player I feel that way with for penalties, where you're like, you don't want him to miss.
You don't want him to take penalties, but he could be a captaincy option. That pretty much sums up Darwin, really, doesn't it, as an FPL asset?
Oh, it really does. Burnley at home is a nice fixture, though. Outside of Darwin and Liverpool, I guess let's chat Liverpool and Man City. The other two teams many are going to target this week, not just because, sure, we know they double in 25. But rather than get to 25 and scramble around to organise your team to have 2 or 3 doublers from each team and take 4-point hits if you need to get there, do it in 24, because both those teams have great 24 fixtures. And actually, if you are going to go to a Luton player in 25 as well, because they double, it's not a great double. But bear in mind, Luton play Sheffield United at home in 24. So again, if you are going to bring a Luton player in, or a Man City or Liverpool, consider doing it sooner rather than later. Or maybe even if you're making 2 or 3 transfers, consider making 2 this week and 1 next and go for the hit early. I made 2 moves last night, mate.
Yeah.
I always planned on bringing in Haaland. Like, that was always the plan.
Okay.
I just thought Solanke was going to outperform him this weekend. So I had Solanke this weekend instead of Haaland, and I was always going to go Solanke to Haaland. But because of price changes, I can't make that move later this week. I had to make it last night. So that was frustrating that I've had to go early, but I had to see Haaland play and didn't want to go any earlier because I could have gone the night before when Haaland did go up in price, but I was like, I cannot buy Haaland until he's played. Let him see him get through. But look, if we put our attention on Liverpool and City assets, are you planning on going into the double with a trio from one club, a double from another, or vice versa? Like, my plan is I'm going to own 3 City for this run and probably only 2 Liverpool. Bearing in mind, we can see from Ben Crellin's spreadsheet, Liverpool do blank in 26 as well.
At the moment, I've already got triple City, so I'm in place for that. I've got Foden, KDB, and Haaland, so I'm quite happy with that, and I won't be looking at changing it. And this game week only really encouraged me that that's the right decision for me heading into the double in 25. And like you say, they've got a great fixture, Everton at home in 24 as well. Yeah. What last night did do for City, it removed a little bit of the uncertainty that we had as well. We had an uncertainty over Phil Foden in terms of, is he going to be first choice moving forward with Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland back fit? Well, I think you saw last night that the answer is yes. He can play with Foden, Haaland and De Bruyne and Alvarez. Pep Guardiola done that at Burnley, I think, as well, on the opening game of the season when KDB got his hamstring injury. And I think it probably gives Foden a little bit more of a security of start moving forward as well, because his form has been so good, like you were mentioning before those 2 came back, and now those 2 are back as well. He's still performing at that level, whether he's in the middle or out wide, more to the left-hand side, actually, interestingly, last night than the right-hand side. We also saw De Bruyne get 90 minutes for the first time since his injury, so that's hugely encouraging for us. And we also saw Erling Haaland get 86 minutes as well. Doesn't look quite as sharp as he did before his injury, but I'm sure he'll get there. He had that brilliant chance in the first half that Flecken blocked when he was clean through on a back pass. So, you know, the signs were there that he's getting better and he's getting a bit more to it, but he's not quite there yet. But it only encourages me that City are definitely worth tripling up on. And like you say, not having the blank in 26 as well, when they've got another half-decent game, Bournemouth away, means that you can jump on and not have to worry about that particular aspect. As far as Liverpool go, I could end up with triple Liverpool as well, to be honest. I've only got Trent Alexander-Arnold as I sit here now, but in my considerations for this week are both Diogo Jota and Darwin Nunez. So I could even have triple Liverpool straight away. I've got 2 free transfers as well. We'll see my team shortly. But the result for Liverpool, like I said before, it removes a little bit of the cushion that they had in their position at the top of the table, with City gaining points, with Arsenal obviously directly gaining points by beating them as well. The attack wasn't good either. I think it was the lowest XG that Liverpool had recorded in a Premier League match this season. If it wasn't the lowest, it was certainly one of the lowest. So I think that means as well that Darwin Nunez has to come back in against Burnley because he's been so good. I'm guessing there must have been some doubt over his fitness. Otherwise, Klopp would have gone with that from the start, I'm sure. And I think as well, you know, when we're looking at rotation with Liverpool, they've got a lot of games coming. I mean, their midweeks are packed over the next 5 to 6 weeks, like I say, with the return of the Europa League, with that match being slotted in against Luton, with the cup final as well. So they're going to have three games a week for the next 6 weeks. There'll definitely be rotation, but they can't really afford for the moment to be giving any of the other teams around them any more incentive. So I actually think that Arsenal result for our FPL teams should be a benefit to us. It should mean that when Klopp looks at Burnley, he maybe feels that he needs to get the win and go strong. When he looks at Brentford away and Luton as well, I mean, maybe there's a bit of rotation in one of those games, but Luton have improved, no question. Even Brentford have bloodied the nose of a couple of the top clubs taking the lead against City and the result, or more the performance actually that they had against Tottenham as well. So it doesn't feel like there's much in those matches for Klopp to be able to rest with. That said, you'd expect Liverpool to beat all 3 teams, no matter what side they put out. But I think at least we can take a little bit of encouragement from the fact that they dropped points that the team shouldn't be messed about with as much as it might have been.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there'll be positives off the back of that Arsenal defeat for our FPL teams. Players in the 11.
Yeah, that's it. And the fixtures are good for Liverpool as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's so good.
Just looking at it, there's points in there for us, even off the bench. If someone like Jota or Darwin Nunez is getting just half an hour at Brentford or at Luton. We saw with Jota when he first came back to fitness when Salah was still around. He was only getting sort of 15, 20 minutes off the bench, and he was still getting returns. So I think even if, these players are left out of the starting lineup, I think where Liverpool are concerned, there's bench points coming as well if we need them to. So, I wouldn't be that adverse to tripling up on both. I think what you said before is really important as well. If you jump on this week, even if that's for a hit, then you can roll your transfers next week, which means you have 2 transfers then going into game week 26. So you can make sure that you've got a strong 11 out to avoid the blanks as well. I think that's probably the way to play it, to be honest, over these next 3.
Yeah, and when we see 26 as a blank, we also have to bear in mind, yes, it's Liverpool, but it's also Spurs, it's also Chelsea, it's also Luton, and most have got 1 Chelsea in Cole Palmer, most have got 1, if not 2 Spurs, Porro and Richarlison, both very popular, and many will have a Luton player by that point as well. So you could be looking at like 6-ish players for game week 26. If you're not looking to use a free hit that week, I'm not, then maybe you sell 2 of them because you'd have rolled your transfer. And you've got 4 guys not playing, not 6, and you have a good 10 out. What I would say is make sure you're getting rid of any dead spots if you're not free hitting in 26, because those dead spots, let's say you've got a Lascelles, you need that 4th or 5th defender to come in and play for you that week. So start thinking about your sub. So for example, last night, one of the moves I made was I didn't have any money to spend. Lascelles, I had 3.9 to spend on a defender to accommodate Solanke to Haaland. I was 0.1 short. So 4 million Lascelles went to a Luton defender at 3.9. Now you might say, why buy a Luton defender? He's not playing in 26. Well, firstly, I need him to start for me in 24 because I've not got 3 defenders playing. Stupinan is now benched by De Zerbi. Could come back in, who knows. But also then I benefit from the double game week. And moving forward off the back of that, it's just my 5th defender dead spot. I'm fine with that. And I'll have 2 transfers, I hope, in 26. And don't forget, in 26, if you need to sell good players, like Liverpool players, you can wildcard them back in 30, because many will be on a chip strategy like me, where we triple captain in that double game week in 25, those yellow games. We then use free transfers to navigate a blank in 29 as well, where there'll probably only be 4 or 5 fixtures. And then coming out that blank, we're dead-ending our teams, you wildcard in a 30 or a 31. So Liverpool, for example, off the back of 26, let's say you buy Darwin and Jota. Yeah, they go to Nottingham Forest away in 27. Okay, it's a fine fixture, but not the best. And then they have City at home. And then they probably don't play in 29. So again, it's fine releasing a Darwin or a Jota. You can think about what Liverpool assets you want moving forward for the run-in from 30 onwards. Maybe that's a Mo Salah, maybe it's a Trent. So loads to think about with chip strategy, Ian. I think a lot of us, because the other big doubles are going to be 34 and 37, and many of us will have bench boost and free hits we want to play in those doubles. This season, we're quite limited on where we use our triple captain because we haven't had a COVID season. We haven't had the Queen dying. There's not been a ton of reshuffling with the fixtures. So there's fewer double game weeks this year.
Yeah.
25 is a double game week where both Liverpool and City feature, and they both have quite good sets of fixtures. I mean, City's 2 home games, Chelsea and Brentford, they don't have a Carabao Cup directly after, like Liverpool, where we might worry about rotation. City, for Haaland, for those 2 games, he'll be up and running. We'll see his minutes versus Everton to get a gauge. I think a lot will be going triple captain Haaland in 25. Is that on your agenda?
100%. Yeah. Definitely. Like you said, there is fewer options this season, it feels like, for triple captain. And when you've got 2 fixtures at home like Chelsea and Brentford, for Manchester City, depending on what Haaland looks like against Everton and how his fitness keeps up as well over the course of the next couple of weeks, that's as good an opportunity as we're going to get, really. You could even make an argument maybe for one of the Liverpool lads with Brentford and Luton at home. The only issue is I'm not totally sure which would be the right one to go for between Jota and Darwin Nunez. You may even have Mohamed Salah back by that point.
Yeah.
It's not really been totally clear, has it, exactly when we can expect him back. The only thing I'd say is that Salah's has got a hamstring problem at the moment. So is Jurgen Klopp really going to bring him back that week, play him twice against Brentford and Luton ahead of a cup final, or is he going to want to prioritise that cup final? Again, it goes back to the point about there being less margin for error. I mean, imagine if Liverpool drop points against Burnley. There's absolutely no way on earth that there's going to be, absolute wholesale changes between Brentford and Luton. I don't think they will drop points against Burnley, but like I say, it just means that they may be feeling the pressure a little bit more than they were before at the top of the table. So, it's going to be an exciting 2 or 3 game weeks, isn't it? Because there'll be variance again. There'll be people looking in different directions, and that's been great about the last few game weeks. The only thing that might be off the table is the captaincy if Erling Haaland's back. So we'll see.
Yeah, CH says, and I'm 1974 saying bench boost 25. CH is saying, would you consider a bench boost 25? I don't dislike it, and it's so team dependent. What I would say is when we bench boost and we're looking at 34 and 37, if you're going into that with a wild card, you'll be looking for quite a few on your bench, maybe from the 4 spots, at least 2-3 of them having double game week fixtures, because these will be big doubles in 34 and 37.
The problem is, the dream always is that you play your wild card, you set yourself up for 15 double game weekers the following game week, and that's the dream. That is what, since we've had the chips, that's what we've all aimed for. The reality is that very rarely happens because someone gets dropped or rested or rotated or injured, or I've got horrible memories of triple captaining. Was it Sadio Mane a few years ago, and he got injured in the first game of a double game week at Wolves, and it was just an absolute disaster. So if you've got a really strong bench for this game week 25 and you're struggling who to bench, then by all means, go for it if you feel that it's going to get you what you need. To me, if I end up with something between 15 to 20 points, maybe that seems to be the average of what it's been over the years. Apart from, do you remember that first season? There was a week where we all were either triple captaining or bench boosting, and I think Aguero and Alexis Sanchez both got about 25, 24 points. And no matter what you did, there was just points everywhere for everyone. We're hitting 200s and all sorts of stuff. So with this being a more normal season, maybe we'll be able to get closer to that, 15 double game week players with the bench boost. So, default position, I would say, is to wait for that opportunity. But if, like I am 1974 and whoever the other one was you mentioned as well, if there is a strong bench for you, go for it. Why not?
Yeah. And the problem with 37 is, we might go, we got 15 doublers. For some teams, the season will be done by 37.
Yep,
so again, predicting the 11s is so tough. Like, you'll want to be investing in players that are fighting relegation. Probably not, because they won't be great FPL assets, but you might be able to predict their starting, or of course going for European places or titles. In 25, if you are bench boosting, you might get 1 or 2 doublers, and you might have a couple of players. I don't know. Let's say you have an Arsenal player, single game week against Burnley. Clearly, let's say you've got Saliba on your bench. Nice option on a bench boost, but many have Cole Palmer as their 7th or 8th attacker that they will be benching that game week. I'll be benching Cole Palmer in game week 25. Now, Cole Palmer, of course, can bang any week. He's brilliant, but it is worth noting the toughest game for Cole Palmer on paper is Man City away, although you could spin it as the narrative of going back to your old club. We should mention Cole Palmer. You watched him closely before he was a popular FPL asset. You saw him you've seen him at City for some time.
Yeah.
What's your take there at Chelsea? Because some will look to sell Cole Palmer. If we just take Chelsea's fixtures on this chart, they're bottom of the ticker here. Palace up next, fine. Regrettably, I'm going to bench him, and I don't want to against Palace. I can't have another 20 points, surely. But then it's Man City, then it's a blank. And he'll probably blank in 29, although we'll know more about that based on the Aston Villa Carabao Cup game tonight. There's an argument to say you could sell him now and bring him back on wildcard, especially if he is blanking in 29. If he blanks in 26, 29 and has a Man City away game in there, potential sell. Some will look to sell him to a Jota, for example.
That's what I'm looking at doing this week, yeah. So that is in my thoughts. And that's not really a statement on Cole Palmer, to be honest. It's more of a statement on wanting, the Liverpool players for the reasons that we've already talked about. I think with Palmer, if it was up to Pep Guardiola, Palmer wouldn't have left Manchester City last summer. It was only because he pushed so hard and the offer was so good from Chelsea that he left. It was never a question of his quality. And he felt that he'd get more minutes at Chelsea. And I think he definitely has done, and the form that he's shown as well, in the short term, at least, has justified why he felt the need to make the move. He's not a bad asset. I mean, his price is still ridiculous for a player of his qualities. He's 5.9 million, I think, now, which obviously has had a huge rise as well. It's a no-brainer, really, at that sort of value. The only thing for me is because I want Jota and I'm looking for someone to take out. I don't really want to take out Saka because I feel like he's someone to keep longer term. And the fixtures are good, West Ham and Burnley over the next two. Although I think he was taken off with a knock against Liverpool. So maybe that's a situation to keep an eye on. I know you've made your transfers already, but I really don't like doing that. I know you had your reasons.
It was horrific. After the back of last night, I did not. I was in a foul mood. I'd had rubbish FPL game because the worst thing I can do now is make a knee-jerk transfer. But with regret, that transfer was planned 3-4 days ago, and annoyingly, it was the price changes. But it was horrible having to make it early.
Yeah, I get
so much could happen this week. We could hear that Saka's injured, and I can't really sell him now because I've already taken a 4-point hit.
FA Cup replays, which could affect our FPL teams in terms of who's going to blank in 29, but also if players pick up injuries in those games as well, obviously that's going to have an effect for us. So, I just prefer to wait always, especially around this sort of time of the season when there's lots of matches going on and lots of different permutations as well. But yeah, I think Palmer could be a player to take out. And to be honest, when I was looking at the way I was going to negotiate these next couple of game weeks, I could easily take out Watkins and Palmer this week for Jota and Darwin Nunez, and then bring them both back for game week 26 just to jump on the train for a couple of game weeks, 3 matches. So 26 is good actually in terms of giving us the opportunity to move away from the doubles, but it really helps that we've got Manchester City there with a good fixture who've got a good double as well. A lot of the time when this happens in FPL, these teams blank straight away, don't they? Like the like the Liverpool situation, where the double is moved, so you end up being punished in the following game week. But having City there helps. You can load up on them, not have to worry about them, and then just play around with the others. So, like I said before, we've got lots of different ways to play this. I think it's great. This is exactly what we want.
Yeah, we like a little bit of chaos. It means the engaged managers get that advantage. It looks like around 38% of you will be going into that double 25 with around 5 players. So anything above that would be seen as, above average. It's also worth noting, you see an orange there, the Bournemouth-Luton fixture that we know is due to be rescheduled at some point. This was, of course, the game Lockyer went off and the game was suspended. That can drop in a few game weeks later down the line because Bournemouth and Luton aren't involved in Europe. It's not like a Liverpool-Luton double game week where it has to go in at the nearest opportunity because there's potentially every midweek full for Liverpool if they get to the knockout stages or continue in the knockout stages of all their competitions. But there are a few, and there has been a couple of rumours suggesting that it could drop into 28. So just bear in mind, if you're selling a Solanke, for example, he could double in 28. And if he does, Sheffield United at home, Luton at home is dreamy for Solanke. Everyone's going to captain him that game week. There might be a few that don't want to use triple captain in 25, realize they can't lose it later and actually go triple captain Solanke. Wow. That's definitely not one for me, but Solanke got the armband by a lot of managers this game week where he failed to register a shot on goal and he collected the 2 points. I've sold Solanke, but with a view, if they double in 28, pretty confident I'll be buying him back for that. And again, it could even be in 27 because they go to Burnley away before that. Worth noting, isn't it?
Definitely. There's a good point being made as well in the chat, actually, by Mr. T, who's asking, what did I pay for Cole Palmer? It is important to have a look at this when you're working out, especially if you're looking at doing an okie-dokie like me, how much money it's going to cost you to make these moves. I mean, I'm guessing the market may be affected a little bit with Watkins because of the opportunity of Haaland being back and also jumping on Darwin Nunez for the double as well. So that could have some impact on Watkins' price. I'm about 0.2, I think, away from what my sale price would be for Watkins and what the buyback would be at the moment. So that could be bridged during that time. But yeah, Cole Palmer, I think my sale price is 5.5 and my purchase price would be 5.9. So that's a 0.4 hit, that, you know, 0.4 million hit. So, you know, if it becomes a 0.2 million hit for Watkins because the market doesn't go as I expect, especially considering what he's done just now, a lot of people will be jumping on Watkins, even considering how game week 23 went for him. It is something to look at very carefully and consider whether you want to do it and lose that much value. For me, I just think the points that I can gain, and I've not made the decision yet. Obviously, I'll use as much time as possible, like I said before, and wait to the end of the week and get as much information as possible. But for the moment, I think the gains may well be worth taking the hit in the money. So, but it's definitely something to carefully consider, no doubt.
We're going to be going in different directions, which is the beauty of it. So many watching will have slightly different chip strategies, or even if they're the same strategies, like the common one, as mentioned, is the triple captain in 25, dead end to 29, wildcard out of it, and then the two big doubles are your free hit and your bench boost one way or another. But even with that, because there's so many good players up for grabs around these doubles and blanks, we're not all going in the same direction. So, for example, I'm going to go triple City attack, and I'll have De Bruyne and Haaland and Foden. Many will go Foden, Walker, Haaland. Again, with Liverpool, some will go Trent plus Jota, some will go Darwin plus Jota, some will go all three. So it's really cool. I think captaincy looks a little bit more boring now, and that's because Haaland's back in the game. Are there weeks we look at for Man City in the next 5-6, which will be non-Haaland weeks? Maybe.
It'll all depend on how they get on and how he gets on over the course of the next sort of 3 game weeks, I would say. And then you decide whether Manchester United in game week 27 is a Haaland captaincy or not. I mean, he scored a hat-trick in that fixture last season. Liverpool away, his record against Liverpool is not good, so maybe that's the time to look elsewhere. And like you mentioned before, Dominic Solanke is going to be popular that week. I just hope it's not an Emmanuel Dennis, Josh King alternative triple captain opportunity, which I'm sure people who've been playing the game will know exactly what I mean if you've been involved in FPL for 2 or 3 seasons. Can we just talk about Manchester United, actually? I think they're a very interesting team for us. One, because of the form, which has completely turned around, definitely in an attacking sense. I mean, 15 goals in the last 5 Premier League matches. They'd scored 2 goals in their previous 5 Premier League games to that. So the form has changed. And in Rasmus Højlund and Alejandro Garnacho, we've got some interesting options for us. So you mentioned before, Garnacho's on my bench. Now, this is something else that's in my head with the Cole Palmer thing. He's 4.8 million now, Garnacho. So if you did jump off Cole Palmer, couldn't get back to him, with his form of late, if he can continue anything like that, then he's going to be a really handy player for us that you could even have as a 4th midfielder, bring someone really, really cheap in that midfield place for Palmer and release things. The dog agrees. He's getting excited at the mention of Garnacho.
He's been sleeping on my lap the whole time. Ian, carry on. Someone's at the door. Be back in 1 sec.
No worries. So, yeah, I'm saying Garnacho, I think, is a very interesting option for us. So 32 points in his previous 3 FPL game weeks at home. Away, he's not quite shown the same form, but that's pretty good going for him. He got the assist at Forest away from home as well. And Rasmus Højlund, whose form has been brilliant, is the youngest Manchester United player ever to score in 4 consecutive Premier League matches. He's taken 36 points in FPL across the last 4 game weeks. And the best thing about these two, they're only about 5% owned at the moment as well. And if you look at the way the fixtures are going on the graphic at the moment, game week 26 is a good time to jump on Manchester United assets with Fulham, Everton and Sheffield United coming up. Obviously, they could blank in 29 with that Sheffield United game. If they beat Nottingham Forest, I think it'll eventually be in the FA Cup. So that's something to bear in mind. But you can bench them for the Manchester City game. So you bring them in on 26. You take the hit on maybe some of the Liverpool players there who you would have had during the double game week. Take out a Nunez, and maybe you can bring in a Højlund at that point for Fulham at home. I think that's a really good option for us, and see how we go. The thing with Garnacho is it's not form that he's shown over the season. With Cole Palmer, it's something that he's shown week after week after week. So it's definitely a situation to keep an eye on. But if we use the next couple of game weeks and the FA Cup as well to scout Garnacho and see how good he still is. Philippe doesn't agree with me in the chat. He says Garnacho got lucky. Don't expect too much. Well, it's only in that one game. He also did it against Aston Villa. Like I said, he got the assist at Forest as well. His performances have been good. He's starting every single week for United in that right wing slot as well. And in Rashford, Højlund and Garnacho, it feels like Ten Hag's found his first choice front line as well. So I think he's an option. Also in defence, Johnny, you're back now as well. I think Dalot and Shaw could be an option for us in game week 26 if you're looking to move away from defenders as well who blank, Porro, and maybe you've got a Liverpool defender that you want to move away from. Dalot's 5.1, Shaw's 5.2. They got the first clean sheet in a little while against West Ham. They're both quite attacking, so it's another situation to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to consider United because they've, like many teams, they've been a bit of a non-event in FPL of late. But now, with the price of their players, especially Garnacho and Højlund, definitely worth consideration. And 29 blanks will dictate a lot of our moves in 26, 7 and 8 because we'll be dead-ending our teams. So again, wait until we know more about who is and who isn't blanking. And yeah, guys, that this is little Cooper, who many of you have seen before, who was barking. He's pretty vocal, as most chihuahuas are.
I think you need to get him a Garnacho shirt, mate, after his little reaction then.
Yeah, the wife dressed him this morning. He's got a few little jumpers, but this is one of his stripy ones.
17 on the back.
Yeah. Shall we have a look at our teams, guys? If you're enjoying the stream so far, Johnny. Oh god, yeah, this is the reflection on points where we're at. Guys, hit the like button and subscribe if you're new around here. As I mentioned, I've gone from 45k to 145k, and many will go, "Oh, it's only 100k red arrow." Don't look at the number, but look at the percentage if you want to know how good or how bad it is. Like 100k, if you're at a million rank, feels like nothing. 100k at 45k rank is massive. 150 odd % red arrow. I don't think I've ever had that. So yeah, the good thing, and let's think of the positives. That's what I'm trying to do. I feel like I'm a step ahead or two with my team now in terms of where I'm set. There's a lot that are going after Jota and Darwin. I've got them in place. There's a lot that can't reach a De Bruyne. I've got him in place. I do have Haaland on this team now as well. Obviously, I'm missing a few key cogs. And if you've got a De Bruyne, you've probably not got a Trent. I don't have a Trent. I think I'm all right with that. But yeah, a lot of single points. I guess for me, the biggest headache outside of bench points and the obvious is the defenders haven't been performing. And Estupiñán is a 5 million asset who isn't starting football matches. Lamptey played on the left-hand side really well. He was even crossing from the byline with his left foot and hitting the target. Like, Lamptey looked really comfortable. And I wonder if Estupiñán might be in and out rather than in for longer periods. So I need a playing defender because Taylor's injured for a while. Lascelles isn't getting any game time. So just to field 3 fit defenders, I've gone and bought 3.9 million Bell from Luton because that's all I can afford, but a good fixture. But then the attacking spots are great. The problem with having 8 good attackers is every week you're benching someone good. So I'll bench Cole Palmer possibly this week away to Palace. I just wonder if when I wildcard, and I usually do this, it's so important to have a dead spot. A player that plays and gets 2 points, but it's 4.5 million and trickles along nicely. It doesn't give you a headache each week and it allows you more money in your 11. The problem we all had was Salah left the game. Haaland left the game for a bit and we all had loads of money. So we upgraded those 8 attackers and I went and bought, can't remember, Solanke from Mabama. So worth noting that for future reference. I think that's one of my biggest learnings, Ian. I don't want a Palmer as my 8th attacker. I want a 4.5 spot. It makes managing it easier, but it also allows more money in your 11.
Yeah, it's been a pretty exceptional circumstance, hasn't it, really, to have Son, Salah and Haaland, 3 of the most expensive, most popular assets in FPL all out at the same time. So it's pretty unlikely, although there will be Africa Cup of Nations and Asian Cups again, obviously. But then also having someone like KDB not available from the start as well, another expensive asset. So it's been pretty unique in that sense. However, one thing I learned is to use the value as quick as possible. Yeah, I carried Salah for a couple of weeks with the thought of, well, we'll see how they get on at AFCON and stuff. Obviously, I couldn't have foreseen the injury. But to me, I should have just jumped off and maximised, using the Son and Salah money as much as possible straight away. Even if it's having loads in the bank, just to get the money being active and playing rather than carrying a very, very expensive asset on the bench for what you don't know. You don't really know how long that's going to be either. I've always had Garnacho as my 5th attacker throughout this period. So obviously this week it looks like a mistake, but for the majority of the time, I've actually felt all right about him being the one on the bench every week. And if he did need to come on, I'd also feel, all right about him playing, and during the blanks coming up as well, it's likely that I'll have to use him. So, I'm more than happy with that. That's worked out quite well for me, actually.
It means you're not annoyed when you get those bench points either. Like Garnacho wasn't really a consideration for you. He's been bought
No.
in as an enabler who's cheap. It's when you have a Foden or a Saka or a Darwin on your bench and you're battling with it all week and you just know you're going to get the wrong decision.
Well, to me, I'd have benched Darwin, if I'm honest, Gianni, not to go on about it too much, considering how the start of this stream went. But with the uncertainty over his fitness, with the fact it was Arsenal away.
And I had Jota already.
And you've got Jota to cover it a little bit, yeah. I'd have done that. But it's very easy to say that now, sat here. And actually, when you talked about Garnacho before, if there was one player that I would have benched for this game week in favour of Garnacho, it would have been Phil Foden, because I had De Bruyne and I had Haaland as well. And I wasn't totally convinced that Triple City away at Brentford was a brilliant idea.
I wasn't convinced Foden would start. I just thought Bernardo coming in, and I didn't think we'd see that lineup you mentioned earlier, which we saw game week 1. Alvarez, Bernardo, and De Bruyne and Foden all behind Haaland. I thought because it was an away game versus Brentford, he'd go with a midfield 2, De Bruyne in a more free role, which meant either Foden or Alvarez was going to drop out.
Well, basically, Guardiola's spoken a little bit recently and in the past about how he feels more able to experiment a little bit more with the attacking shape when they are against sides who are playing 5 at the back and are playing really deep as well in a low block. So having people like Foden, like Alvarez, like Haaland, like De Bruyne, like Bernardo all on the pitch at the same time, and just letting them play, keep the ball, try things, break teams down. So I think we will see it in the future. I don't think we'll see it every single game week. And certainly in the games where City, will be facing a team who are playing a little bit more football, I don't think he will go with such an attacking midfield in particular. I think you'll find that it won't be Rodri on his own in that deeper role. In the past, he'd always used Gundogan there. At the start of the season, he used Kovacic a little bit more in that sort of position. So that'll be definitely something to keep an eye on going forward. But there's points in the City team for us, certainly, over these next few weeks. And if you're not invested in any more than 2, really, I think you need to push on it. Like I say, I'm maxed out now. You're maxed out now. And I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, let's move away from my team as quickly as possible. And for the double, guys, I've currently got, with the transfers I made last night, I've got 6. So I'll have 1 Luton, 2 Liverpool, 3 City, no Brentford. I will have a transfer to use next week during 25 if I want to. I don't think I will, though. I can't, as much as I would love to get a Tony, I can't accommodate. As much as I would love to get a 3rd Liverpool, I can't easily accommodate. And you have to question, is it worth ripping up your team for that 1 extra doubler? Often the case is, the answer is no. Ian, 74 for you. So it's a good week. You had Haaland nice and early, so you captained him. Saka, Watkins, I guess, like many managers, did you question their output a couple of weeks ago, but very glad you've held on to them, because some got a bit twitchy and nervy on them, and they're 2 of the highest owned players in the game, Watkins and Saka, but they're starting to deliver for us now, and really they're showing why they're so highly owned. They just tick along and are sort of the talisman for their teams.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Watkins, 2 goals, 5 assists in the last 4 game weeks, so he's definitely back on form. He had gone 5 game weeks previous to that with just 1 return, 1 goal. So definitely he was in question. No doubt about that, because obviously there's a bit of movement in the front line with Haaland being back and Darwin and all that sort of stuff. And when I was looking last week, ahead of game week 22, was it? Who to bring in? When I wanted to bring in Haaland in, it was who to take out, and it was Alvarez in the end who I took out, because I wanted Solanke and Watkins moving forward over these next couple of game weeks. When I was looking at Solanke's form in particular, he'd gone big against the 3 teams. So the Forest game, he'd hit a hat-trick against them. I think his return against West Ham at home and also Fulham was good. So, I wanted to keep him. Watkins obviously had that Sheffield United game coming up as well. So, my consideration really for the sort of next few weeks now is Pedro Porro is that player for me now. There's doubt over him. So I was sort of assessing what to do with him, and he may well become Alfie Doherty for me, who I could use for Luton this week and also across the double as well, and then maybe ship out for someone else once Luton blank. Although if there is that double coming for Luton as well, then maybe that's an opportunity to get him in the team and keep him. I think I went viral nearly a couple of weeks ago when I said there'll be some point this season where we all own Alfie Doughty in our teams, which at the time seemed like a crazy thing to say, but he's pretty consistent.
Oh, the assists are insane. Like the crossing and the assist numbers are up there with any fullback in the Premier League. And he's obviously a wing back, so he's super advanced. Don't expect many clean sheets, but he got one against Brighton, to be fair. And Sheffield United at home this week could be a good clean sheet fixture, but the attacking returns are there for him.
They definitely are. And this is the thing. So I'm maybe swapping Porro for Doughty. Well, there's no clean sheets there for Porro either. Yeah. One clean sheet in the last 14 game weeks for Spurs, and he's 5.9 million now as well. He's still on set plays. He's getting a share of those. He's still being creative. He's still having shots, but he's the one maybe who I've got, a real concern over.
His form's been off though, hasn't it? Like a month ago, we got all the set piece appeal and we liked the fact he was shooting from range, but he looked really bright. Spurs are continuing to look bright, but he's not really shining. Even with Maddison back in the team, we thought, will he lose set pieces? No, like he's still taking them and he's still clearly very dangerous. But as FPL Fella says in the chat, Adoji is kind of the man that's catching the eye from the two fullbacks. I still think I might stay on Porro perhaps longer than most because the fixtures around that blank are pretty good. Like they're still high upside fixtures and he does offer that goal threat, Porro, unlike many fullbacks.
Yeah, that's true. And like I say, the numbers are still not bad for him in terms of chances created and he's still having shots and he's still on his share of set plays. The thing for Spurs, there's just so many things shining in that Spurs side. Yeah. And a few weeks ago, it felt like there wasn't quite as many and it was Porro who was maybe even shining the brightest. So, with Maddison being back, the creative burden's taken off Porro a bit. Udogi's interesting because his numbers have actually improved, haven't they? In recent weeks when all the players have been back. So I wonder if that's suggesting a shift in the way that Spurs are attacking with the different players that are in the team now compared to before. So it'd be very interesting to see, the true effect that has. FPL Freddie's asking, what's my rank? My overall rank now is 391k. So not amazing, to be honest. I've done much better than this in recent seasons.
You beat me last season, didn't you? I remember you smashing me a couple of years ago. I was really depressed. I was going on the FPL show as a pundit and an expert, and the presenter was had like 50% better rank than me.
Yeah, well, to be fair, this season, game week 10, I was 3.5 million. I had an absolutely appalling start to this season, really, really bad. And then by game week 19, I got back to about 300,000, and then I've sort of tread water since then. In the sort of 300 to 400,000 mark to game week 23. So I'm looking to push on now. And, going back to what we were saying before, that's why I feel like being aggressive with people like Porro, with people like Palmer, with people like Watkins. I worry about the money later on. I want to make the moves now to get the points to try and climb a little bit higher. If I'm in your position, Gianni, or even higher, if you're top of your mini leagues at the moment, maybe you need to be a little bit more conservative on that. Let other people take risks and make mistakes. So just depends on the sort of player you are and the sort of positions you're in, really.
Yeah, I like that. So your plans this week, you're going to target Liverpool, and you're thinking maybe Palmer out.
Yeah, I mean, as I sit here now, the thing I had in my head was a -4 to take Palmer, Watkins, and Porro out and bring in Doughty, Jota, and Darwin. But like I say, I want to get some more information this week to see how the FA Cup games go, to understand a little bit more, about the fitness of a few people like Saka, who had a bit of a knock, like Trent Alexander-Arnold, who obviously came off early in that Arsenal game as well. So I won't be doing it yet, but if I'm being really aggressive, that's what I'd push to go and do. And then that would give me triple Liverpool, triple City, and Doughty for the doubles. So that's 7 doublers, yeah.
And if you can, guys, if you can find 0.6, a Bell or a Mengi to a Doughty is absolutely massive and absolutely worth the 0.6. From someone that's bought a Bell, and I was looking at Mengi last night, there's very little, they're fine at 3.9, but if you've got the extra money, that's definitely worth the investment on Doughty. Go look at his numbers. Okay, cool. Let's move away from this one and have a look at the Chaser team, shall we? Our Chaser team is you guys. You vote for our transfer each week. We've gone a little bit boring in recent weeks. We brought Haaland back in to captain him. It's pretty templatey, but at times this team has been very untemplatey. Annoyingly, we've got Garnacho and Branthwaite bench points there.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, that is double on your bench, those two.
Yeah.
We'll have a look on Friday's show what move we're making this week. I think Gordon might be a sell. We'll have a look and see if Eddie Howe tells us much in the press conference. I think he's got a twisted ankle, went off at half time.
What's in the bank, Johnny?
Oh, money in the bank. I'm not sure, We'll let you know. We'll let you know what's in the bank. And I think we've got 2 free transfers this game week as well. I feel like there's not a ton in the bank. It's going to be very little. I think we getting to Haaland last week pretty much used up all our funds, if not the exact value. So yeah, not much to play with.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But we're not having a great season on the old Chaser team. Oh, we got 2 free transfers and 0.0 in the bank. Right.
Oh,
wow.
Okay.
We are tight. So yeah, maybe Gordon to a Garnacho could even be. Oh no, we've got Garnacho. Of course we have. That'd be an interesting one to consider. With 2 free transfers though, there's directions we can go in. CH says Gianni setting the stage. CH, we'll be looking at you for Friday's inspiration on our transfers for sure. We've also got Big Man Backer in on Wednesday's show. We could do a bit of a Q&A tomorrow as well. I'm going to be taking it from a service station in Bristol, the call. So
the glamour of it. The glamour of it.
Do tune into tomorrow's show to see my interesting backdrop. I took one of the last shows we did with FPL Chai in at the Premier League, which was pretty cool. That was fun.
Yeah.
In Stockley Park.
So it was after the show with me, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we've seen a variety of backdrops, and I think I'm on with you in the next week or two.
Yeah. I'm doing it for the month of February. So yeah, I'll see you there.
I love that. And your plans outside of the fantasy stuff and doing games, a few have asked in the chat about your podcast with Man United. So for those that don't know, just tell us about that, because someone asked when's the next pod out.
Oh, really? Yeah. Talk of the Devils, it's called. It's the Athletics Manchester United podcast. So as you can imagine, we've had quite a lot to talk about just of late. And in fact, since I started doing it, there's never been a dull moment. So it's out twice a week. If you're a Manchester United fan, I highly recommend it. The lads that we do it with are so well up on United. It's ridiculous. There's no one better really to talk about United than the lads that we have in terms of journalists anyway. And the next one should be due on Thursday. We'll have a preview to the Aston Villa game, which is a huge match for United this season. If they have got any hope of catching up in the remainder of this campaign, they need to win at Villa, really, or at least avoid defeat. So yeah, it's nice that people listen in, and thank you if any of you do. And thank you for mentioning it, Jenny.
With regret, mate, we've got a lot of Man United fans to watch this channel. We'll have to do a poll next show. What team do you support? But as always seems to be the case, United will probably come out on top, which is depressing. FPL Chai, yeah, you can definitely. We would love to have you on tomorrow's show or Friday's show. So we'll be in touch, 100%. That'd be fun.
Cool.
Guys, Miami says hello, FPL Guna. Hello to FPL Guna in Miami. I tell you what, guys, just to end, let's do 30 seconds on where in the world you're watching from, shall we? Seeing as we had FPL Guna in Miami. If you fancy hitting us up with your country or city,
I can start. Manchester.
Yeah, there we go. I'll start Rutland, and people don't even know that's a place, but it's a county in England.
Yeah.
CH Northwest, FPL Down Under in Melbourne. We've got Norwich. We've got a few in the UK today, which is nice. Miami, Thailand, a beach in Thailand. Love that tractor damage. Nelly says Ottawa, Canada.
Uganda.
Kampala, yeah, Uganda, Cork Island, Bangkok, Sheffield, Massachusetts, Kansas. Kansas has got one of the World Cup stadiums in 2026. I saw Big Ed. That's cool. Did you see the World Cup final is going to be in New Jersey, Ian?
Yeah, I saw a great meme as well, that David Beckham, Victoria Beckham thing saying the World Cup final's in New York. Where's the World Cup final? New York. Where's the World Cup final? New Jersey. But yeah, it's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't wait for that one. USA have got their 3 games in California. I think Seattle won, LA 2.
Wow.
Miami's got the 3rd place playoff. I'm
Cape Town, South Africa, Alicante, Malaysia.
Hogwarts. There we go. Thanks, FPL Focus,
Brilliant.
that one. Oh, good stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. Ian, thank you, mate. We look forward to seeing you
Cheers,
again
Gianni.
on CGA very soon. But for now, guys, he's been Ian, I've been Gianni, and we've been chasing green arrows. See you later.